Thanks for coming to Amsterdam today. Are you having a good show?
Very much so. As I joked with you before, I told the audience this morning they were all going to die, but I had them laughing 12 times, so it went well.
Even with the threat of death?
Almost, yeah. They were okay, and it was a big crowd.
So we're here talking about the future of work. Some of the scaremongering is all about AI, all the automation coming through. Nothing immediate in the next 1 or 2 years, but I think people are trying to talk about 5 to 10 years. I don't think anyone can actually put a number on it. What are your thoughts on the future of work, Danny?
Sober, thoughtful, gloomy, but I'm always happy to listen to counter-arguments to that, very much indeed. I think, as we were talking before, Mark, that the government world is downsizing the civil service. Macron plans to sack 100,000 civil servants, so more of the same there. The corporate world doesn't get it in the sense that employees are consumers. As you know, I work with 400 major corporations, and they have problems with organic top-line sales growth. So what they're doing is looking at profitability, which means they're slashing and burning and cutting the middle, which means they're getting rid of people. So governments are doing that, corporations are doing that. This has been a trend for about 25 years. And my whole point is, if the global economy is in a cyclical trend, which it has been, then people can get back on the escalator. But since the financial crash of 2008, 2009, it's been a flatline, chronic economic and job environment, and people can't get in, and therefore they're temporary, part-time in the gig economy. So combined government and corporate, and then add on the comment you make about robotification, which is very concerning, where Chinese workers are considered expensive. So forget European and American ones. Why employ expensive Chinese workers when you can have 5,000 robots in an aircraft hangar outside Rotterdam?
The call centre's kind of gone to Budapest, they've gone to Manila, they've gone to Africa. There's nowhere left for them to go, kind of thing. So it is literally all this machine learning that's going to come along and strip these jobs away.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we all know it's the middle HR range, back office clerical work. Apparently law firms employ thousands and thousands of people, millions of people, for clerical paperwork, which could be robotified apparently, and that's the way it's going to go. It seems that middle back office side is going to go, but also I think mid-management, one of the early trends. I think you were very right, these are the early days, but I think mid-management is being cut and burned in reorganization and corporate structuring, and it fits in very nicely. So add that to the point you make, and it's sober. I do agree, not for 1 or 2 years, but 4 to 10 years is going to be the crunch period.
This links with even the inquiries coming into our business. They're not coming from HR, they're coming from leadership teams. We've had one from Japan recently, one from Germany. They're not just worried about the disruption that's happening around their products and the industry in general. They're worried about the disruption that's actually happening in every single function in their organization, and they're trying to get on top of it.
What you just say, combine that with the helter-skelter downward approach to profitability, continuous, endless corporate restructuring, which usually means downsizing and outsourcing one way or the other. I'm in the corporate world, and just on a personal note, every week, the point I make about mid-management, every week 2, 3, 4 emails come to me about executives who've been in companies for 15, 25 years. They're aged 45, 50, 55. And where are they going to get a mid-senior position in all the corporations that are cutting? The supply is shrinking, the demand is rising, and who wants to employ men over 50?
The other thing I'd like to ask you about, and you've talked about the gig economy as well. When I talk to the Uber drivers, they're very happy, but they also don't see the automation that's coming through, that they're going to be replaced with an autonomous car. And I mean, a lot of the money goes back as well. For me, it's not just the Tesco situation where the wealth distribution goes back to the UK. Uber, all the money goes back to the US, and you're talking about a company where the CEO recently got in lots of trouble for a lot of HR issues as well. Do you think there's going to be that change in the global economy where globalized will kind of become smaller? People are going to kind of buy local?
Not sure they'll go local. I echo your point about, social fabric and the culture of society is changing, not just in rural Hungary, which I know well like you do, but, in the UK and in Britain. But I think what's puzzling and concerning about the gig economy and flexibility is, you well know, Mark, that there are surveys about amongst young people who are in that kind of Uber economy or whatever, and they say, are you satisfied being in the flexible gig economy? And about 50% say yes, so a lot are happy. By the way, 50% also means statistically 50% are not happy, but let's leave that aside. You got the cheerful chipmunks, and they're enjoying it all, but I would suggest to you, now, I mean this just for argument's sake and provocation in a positive sense. These 50% are bloody idiots because they don't understand the social fabric, they don't understand what they've lost, they don't understand what their parents had in terms of security, pensions, health, and so on. What we have now, and by the way, I am not a Leninist Marxist, but we have a surplus labour pool in the gig economy. And the winners of that are the corporate world and governments who can take out people when they want for projects, and we call it flexibility. The losers are those in that economy. And I believe that they're happy because they don't understand economic and political and social history. Unfortunately, we know all the numbers. People don't know what happened 10 years ago. They certainly don't know what happened for the post-war generation. I think we can do better as societies and employers and employees, and I think we're missing all the tricks, and I think we're going down in a downward spiral. And again, to use another Leninist Marxist phrase, these people don't understand it because of false consciousness. They think they're doing well out of it, but they're wrong because they don't understand the nature of what they could have and what they're missing out on. So I think if Karl Marx was back, he'd be here saying, I told you so. I said it would be thoughtful and provocative.
Good cop, bad cop. The outlook, we're looking at the responsibility people have. We've talked about the political crisis, we've talked about the leadership crisis. You're talking about mid-management structure of organisations changing as well. It's fair to say that people really need to go out there and look after their own careers now and kind of upskill themselves for the next 5 years for the jobs and skills they don't have right now.
It's a treadmill, but it's necessary. And again, I was painting, you're absolutely right, bad cop, all the downsides of that for sure. And they are there, they must be recognised, and I don't think they are fully recognised yet. You talked about universal income, of course, shorter hours. These are the first steps in the right direction, but whether the US will get this quickly, the way the politics are structured, especially with Trump and so on, the turmoil there, I doubt it. I think also, his constituency, the white-collar workers in Michigan, Pennsylvania, their position is going to get worse. So will they feel alienated from Trump and change politically, or will they go to somebody worse than Trump? In the sense of political extremism, or will they want Trump to become the real Trump and so on? And I think we're seeing that dynamic in the United States of America. I think you mentioned either before this interview or in it, you're surprised at how people are responding now. So am I, because Sir Mervyn King in the United Kingdom, when he was Governor of the Bank of England in 2011, said, "I'm surprised there has not been a social revolution in Britain." And that was because of austerity, job cuts, the start of the gig economy. And of course we had more of that in 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then we did have the social revolution with the Brexit vote. People, for me, I thought people would take it. I thought they would swallow it. I thought excuse my language, I thought people would be dumb enough not to understand what was happening to them. But we've seen it now. Of course, the response, what response could they have? Their response was, we're suffering, we don't have equity, we don't feel well treated, and there was no political outlet for them to go into except Brexit, Trump, and the populism we see. Just to finish off on that point, Mark, we've got this wave of populism going on, but you can say in the Netherlands it failed, in Germany it failed, and so on, etc. I think this is the first wave. We've seen in Austria that there's big dynamics changing there, Hungary, you well know, and Poland. This populism doesn't stop this year or is finished. We've got 2020, 2025. Le Pen is planning to be president of France in 2022. She wasn't aiming for this year, but she's planning for 2022. And if Macron sacks 100,000 civil servants and can't provide growth, can't provide real jobs in France, can't integrate, the other one is the time bomb is migration, cannot provide integration in society for the inflow of migrants, then the second wave of populism is down the road, both economically and politically.
To finish on a really positive note with a quick answer, when's Brexit going to hit the wall? What are we looking at? Are we looking at summer next year for that?
I'm politically neutral on this, but Brexit is a disaster for the United Kingdom. If there's no deal, it's a real disaster. I think we'll probably get the transition from 2019 to 21, a couple of years. The British Civil Service will spend 5 billion man-hours on this and not on other things. And the final deal will either be a catastrophic no deal, or it will be a free trade agreement which will leave Britain worse off than it was before anyway. So that's the happy note.
That's the happy. Daniel, always a pleasure. Thanks a million.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you.